The Suburban Saga of HOA Karen. Liam never imagined that updating his home Wi-Fi password would spiral into a late-night confrontation with two wary officers on his doorstep, their flashlights slicing through the dark like accusations. Behind them stood HOA Karen, his relentless, overly involved neighbor, arms crossed, face twisted in self-righteous triumph like she'd just cracked the Enigma code. "He hacked my internet," she declared, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Liam was stunned. "You mean my internet?" he asked, voice laced with disbelief. Karen didn't blink. "My son and I were using it just fine until you changed something." She had just confessed to stealing Wi-Fi in front of law enforcement, amply convinced she was the victim. The officers exchanged glances, the older one clearly questioning his life choices. Liam explained he had simply noticed unknown devices on his network and changed the password. That's when the real chaos began. Karen launched a neighborhood smear campaign, stuffing his mailbox with passive-aggressive notes and even faking a petition. Whispers followed him at the grocery store. Then, Liam discovered something darker, an unknown device still accessing his network, tracing back to Karen's house. With growing dread, he set a digital trap and uncovered shocking activity, logins to banks, crypto wallets, and stolen data. When he confronted Karen, she deflected until her teenage son, Tyler, emerged pale and twitchy. Karen seized his laptop and froze, horrified by what she saw. Then the pounding knock came. "FBI, open up." Karen unraveled completely, shrieking, blaming Liam, even hurling the incriminating laptop at him before jumping through a window in a deranged escape attempt, landing in her decorative gnome display. As agents arrested Tyler, Karen howled injustice, now a meme-worthy meltdown in motion. The next morning, she was gone truck-loaded, ego shattered. Liam, he finally got to enjoy his eternity and his life without HOA insanity lurking next door. Even after Karen's dramatic garden gnome crash landing and her son Tyler's FBI-led arrest, Liam hoped that would be the end of it, that maybe, just maybe, Karen had learned her lesson. But if there was one thing HOA Karen didn't know how to do, it was admit defeat. 2 weeks after her son was charged with federal cyber crimes, she reemerged like a vengeful phoenix with a clipboard and a mission. Somehow, she convinced the HOA board to let her act as interim president while the old one was on vacation, though everyone knew he had fled the madness she caused. Suddenly, Liam found himself under microscopic scrutiny. Every blade of grass on his lawn was up for debate. His trash bins were improperly aligned. His porch light was too bright, and he was issued a formal warning for unauthorized gnome placement, a clear mockery of her own gnome-related disaster. But Liam wasn't a man to be bullied twice. He started documenting everything: timestamps, emails, surveillance footage. Then, one morning, his Jeep, a vehicle parked legally in his own driveway, vanished. Towed. No notice. No warning. Just gone. Karen, smiling smugly from her porch in oversized sunglasses, said it violated HOA aesthetics. What she didn't know was that Liam's Jeep was part of a federal operation, a mobile surveillance vehicle loaned to him through his cybersecurity consulting work. That same afternoon, Homeland Security showed up asking why an encrypted surveillance unit was now sitting in a private impound lot. When they traced the towing request to Karen, things escalated fast. Liam watched from his porch as a government agent rang her bell, and for the second time in a month, Karen's face lost all color. She had no idea who she was messing with, but Liam. He was done playing nice. After the Homeland Security debacle and her public shaming over the surveillance Jeep incident, HOA Karen became a ghost of her former self, still nosy, still vindictive, but now twitchy and paranoid. She skulked around the neighborhood like a disgraced politician, muttering about conspiracies and government overreach. The HOA quietly stripped her of her temporary title, and for a while, peace returned to the cul-de-sac. That is, until Marcus moved in next door. A calm, quiet IT professional with noise-canceling headphones and a love for porch succulents, Marcus didn't even know who Karen was until the day he changed his Wi-Fi password. Just like Liam before him, he found strange devices connected to his network, so he locked it down. And just like before, Karen exploded. She pounded on his door at midnight, screaming about how he'd cut off her son's ability to finish his homework, even though Tyler was now awaiting trial in federal custody. She claimed Marcus had hacked her smart toaster, and that it hadn't worked right since he'd moved in. It escalated fast. Karen called the police again, accusing Marcus of cyber warfare. But this time, the cops knew better. Karen's address was now flagged. The responding officer sighed before she even started speaking. Meanwhile, Marcus, concerned by her obsession, installed monitoring software on his home network and found something shocking: an attempt to access his devices from a location outside the neighborhood. Someone was using Karen's name to reroute login attempts. Was it Tyler, or someone else? Marcus traced it. When he confronted her, Karen broke completely. She shrieked that Liam and Marcus were in on it, part of some vast revenge plot. The final straw came when she tried to install a motion-triggered siren aimed at Marcus's house. The city declared her a public nuisance. Days later, her house went up for sale. Even after Aaron's house was officially listed for sale with a price far above market value and the words "cozy community charm" in the description, Marcus had a gut feeling she wasn't done yet. The siren was gone. The wild accusations had stopped. But the tension in the air was thick, like a storm waiting to break. Then, late one night, he saw it, the flicker of a screen in her supposedly empty house. Curious and more than a little paranoid, Marcus checked his network logs and saw a familiar MAC address trying to ping his system. Again, this time, he was ready. He traced the signal to a temporary hotspot inside Karen's garage. Someone was back. He grabbed his phone and started recording as he walked over. The garage door was cracked open. Inside stood Karen, hunched over a laptop balanced on an old lawn chair, muttering to herself as she typed furiously. "You thought you could ruin me," she whispered. "They'll see. They'll all see." Marcus's stomach dropped. She hadn't listed the house to move, she had done it to bait people into forgetting. She was trying to rewrite the narrative. With one final stroke of delusion, Karen had built a website, exposethehackers.net. It featured doctored screenshots, twisted timelines, and long-winded blog posts accusing Liam, Marcus, the HOA board, and even the FBI of orchestrating a vast smear campaign against her and her son. She'd been living in the garage, off the grid, using library Wi-Fi and burner accounts. Marcus couldn't believe it. This wasn't just HOA drama anymore, it was a full-blown conspiracy meltdown. The next morning, he forwarded everything to the FBI's cybercrime unit. Within 48 hours, the site was taken down, and Karen was issued a restraining order. This time, when she left the neighborhood, it wasn't voluntary. Karen's final spiral, complete with a tin-foil, hat-level conspiracy website and a surprise garage hideout, was the last chapter in a saga the neighborhood would be whispering about for years. Once she was escorted off the property by a pair of very tired federal agents, her house sat vacant, eerily still, like the ghost of chaos past. For the first time in what felt like forever, the street was silent. No sirens, no accusations, no midnight rants about toaster espionage. Marcus, though exhausted from the insanity, found himself suddenly popular. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact were now bringing over banana bread, asking about those hacker detection tips, and sharing Karen horror stories with morbid delight. Even old Mr. Collins, who hadn't spoken more than 5 words since 2009, offered Marcus a salute from his front porch. The HOA, desperate to rehabilitate its image, held a community reset BBQ, where Liam and Marcus were given tongue-in-cheek awards for outstanding digital defense and neighborhood stability. Marcus accepted his paper certificate with a raised eyebrow and a smirk, but beneath the jokes and grilled burgers, there was real relief. Karen was gone. No one had to second-guess leaving their trash cans out or fear being reported for wine chimes anymore. Her house was quickly snapped up by a young couple with a toddler and no Wi-Fi drama, just an adorable golden retriever who liked sunbathing in the yard. Marcus started sleeping better. He even helped the new neighbors set up a secure network on move-in day, triple encrypted just in case. Life, at last, felt normal. One evening, as he sipped tea on his porch, Liam walked by, gave him a nod, and said, "You know, man, we didn't just survive her. We upgraded the whole neighborhood." Marcus chuckled. All it took was a cyber criminal and a garden gnome crash. Just when the neighborhood had settled into a blissful, Karen-free routine, a peculiar sense of déjà vu crept in. It started subtly, a passive-aggressive note taped to a community mailbox about unapproved lawn ornaments. Then came the anonymous complaints filed with the HOA about excessive humming during evening dog walks. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The wording sounded familiar. Too familiar. Liam noticed it too. "Tell me I'm not crazy," he muttered one afternoon, holding up a printed email addressed to the HOA signed by someone named Linda C. Hammond. Linda had moved into the corner house just 3 weeks prior, a bleached blonde woman with oversized sunglasses, a suspiciously wide-brimmed hat, and a mysteriously husky voice that sounded like Karen trying to disguise herself with a cold. Marcus, already paranoid from past trauma, decided to dig. It didn't take long. A reverse image search of Linda's realtor profile pic revealed the original, an old photo from Karen's LinkedIn page, just slightly filtered. "Oh my God," Marcus whispered, staring at the screen. She came back in disguise. The neighborhood nearly imploded with laughter and disbelief. But the situation turned serious when Linda began planting rumors that Marcus had installed spyware on her smart fridge. Again, the HOA, burned once before, launched an immediate investigation. Liam and Marcus compiled a full dossier of samples, digital evidence, even a screenshot of Karen accidentally logging into her old exposed the hackers.net account. The final straw. A neighbor's Ring camera caught Linda yelling at her garden gnomes during a thunderstorm. The HOA called an emergency meeting. When confronted, Linda tried to gaslight the entire board, claiming they were victims of deepfakes. But no one bought it. Security escorted her out again. As the moving truck pulled away for the second time, Liam turned to Marcus, deadpan. "Next time, we get a moat." Marcus just nodded. And lasers. After Karen's second eviction, this time under the laughably bad alias of Linda C. Hammond, the neighborhood realized something profound. If they didn't get proactive, this kind of chaos could happen again. So, under the guise of a monthly HOA safety initiative, Liam quietly founded the Coalition for Neighborhood Integrity, a name that sounded perfectly boring on paper, but was, in reality, a suburban justice league. Marcus was appointed head of digital surveillance unofficially, of course, and neighbors volunteered for roles like behavioral pattern analyst and community cam archivist. They met under string lights in George's garage, sipping lemonade and reviewing footage like analysts in a low-stakes spy thriller. At first, it was about making sure no new Karens infiltrated the block. But soon, it became something more, a way for the neighbors to bond, to look out for one another, and to heal. They shared security tips, helped babysit, even tracked a rogue Amazon package thief who turned out to be a raccoon with kleptomaniac tendencies. Marcus installed a real-time network scanner for the entire street top 10, of course alerting users if unfamiliar devices tried to connect. They dubbed it Karen Guard. It caught on faster than anyone expected. One neighbor added a feature that auto-played calming jazz when suspicious network behavior was detected, and somehow that became a hit. By spring, the HOA had been completely restructured. Liam as chair, Marcus as tech liaison, and a rotating committee that actually listened. The cul-de-sac was thriving. New families moved in, drawn by the unusual peace and quiet in the now legendary stories about the Karen incident. Every time someone brought up Linda C. Hammond, laughter rippled through the block like an inside joke shared by survivors of a suburban war. And if anyone ever asked what happened to the original Karen, Marcus would just smile and say, "She underestimated the Wi-Fi." It didn't take long for the Coalition for Neighborhood Integrity to face its first real test. A month after Aaron 2.0's exile, a new resident moved into the last vacant house on the block, a man named Doug Pennington. He introduced himself with a forced smile, no eye contact, and an aggressive handshake that lingered just a little too long. Something about him set off quiet alarms. His lawn was immaculate to immaculate. The grass looked artificial. He installed cameras on every corner of his house within 24 hours of moving in and glared at passing joggers like they were enemy agents. Marcus's system flagged his Wi-Fi almost immediately, bouncing through multiple VPNs, one of which linked back to a shady tech forum Marcus had once traced during the Brad the Cyber Criminal days. "We've got a possible reverse Karen," Marcus told Liam during their evening perimeter walk. "Less loud, more lurking." Liam frowned. "Creepy Karen, crypto Karen," Marcus suggested. The coalition agreed to observe quietly. Meanwhile, strange things started happening. Mail went missing. A neighbor's car alarm kept going off at 3 a.m. The street's group chat lit up with blurry ring camera stills of someone in a hoodie checking door handles. And yet, every time something happened, Doug was just there, walking his dog at weird hours, washing his car in the rain, staring, always staring. One night, after him on Liam's Jeep with eerily accurate detail about his government work, Marcus had enough. He cross-referenced VPN logs, time-stamped footage, and the data from Karen Guard. Bingo, an encrypted laptop in Doug's house had pinged Marcus's network 3 nights in a row. It was subtle, but not subtle enough. Liam narrowed his eyes. "Let's call a meeting." Marcus cracked his knuckles. Time to see if Doug's a hobbyist or a threat. Lesson: in the digital age, awareness, boundaries, and community matter more than ever. What started as a simple act changing a Wi-Fi password spiraled into a neighborhood-wide unraveling of secrets, entitlement, and cybercrime. The story reminds us that technology is not just a convenience, it's a doorway, and if left unguarded, it can invite more than freeloaders. It can expose you to real threats. Marcus's quiet diligence and Liam's experience show that vigilance and paranoia when you're dealing with people who cross ethical and legal lines. But the deeper lesson about community resilience: when individuals like Karen abuse systems and twist narratives, it's easy to feel isolated. But when neighbors come together, compare notes, and take a stand like Marcus and Liam did, the dynamic shifts. What was once chaos becomes a coordinated response. Trust is rebuilt. Peace returns. The takeaway: don't ignore red flags. Don't underestimate the power of digital boundaries. And most importantly, don't be afraid to unite with your neighbors to protect your space from both external threats and internal chaos. Sometimes, the quietest people make the biggest difference. And sometimes, the best firewall is just on your router. It's the people who have your back.